One of my favorite pastimes is to people watch. I often find myself creating stories around the things that I see. People are such fascinating creatures, and I sometimes wonder what happened. How did this person become who they are today? And I am particularly intrigued by the older generation and the decisions which led up to this present moment. One of the hardest things about getting older is the challenge to adapt to change, to keep an open mind and to be willing to alter and evolve if necessary. Life often knocks us down, and failure after repeated failure can often cause us to lose the will to get back up again. Moving to a new country can feel like this at times. Even the most basic things like asking for directions or navigating a foreign city, or even just something simple like a telephone conversation, can really seem like insurmountable tasks. And these are things which left me utterly drained and frustrated at the end of the day with no real feelings of success. The brain develops familiar pathways and becomes the default to make quick snap judgments and slap labels on things which we observe. And there's not necessarily any malice or ill intent in this. It's just one way for us to make sense of the world around us. A topic that is often discussed in the circles which I move in is integration. Why do some people seamlessly and also very rapidly integrate and others never really seem to get there? And as an immigrant myself, I see this as a topic of grave importance. The topic of immigration brings with it a whole host of practical and ethical questions, such as who's allowed in and who isn't. And it's a hugely complex topic and often a very polarizing one, but I would like to offer a principle for successful integration, which I see as an essential stepping stone after which everything else follows. Without it, we face an uphill struggle and we will never achieve that sense of belonging which we all crave. I see a lot of fear and uncertainty at the moment, and there are many people who are rather negative and bitter and hopeless, and life really can seem very unfair at times, and this is something that I've also struggled with. I often regularly feel like the pace of life is just too quick, and often dread having to learn a new system or a new process or again a new language, new culture. It can get too much, and sometimes it just is overwhelming. But I do also see the complete opposite. I see those who remain positive no matter what, even though undergoing immense struggles and pain and hardship, they still manage to reach out and make a connection with another human being. So why is this, and what is this principle that I'm talking about? Well, it's something that I like to think of as leading with curiosity. As children, it is natural to wonder and marvel at novelty. Learning something new fills us with joy, but for whatever reason, many of us lose our curious nature when we grow up. Learning becomes an effort, and it's something to be avoided. One thing which I have noticed during my time here working in retail is that many of us are starved of human connection. An engaging conversation seems to be out of reach for many of us. It's not something that can be bought or sold. It must be earned and cultivated and nurtured. You can have all the riches in the world and yet still feel a deep sense of disconnect and inability to reach others emotionally. And for many of us, we are constantly in contact but never connecting. And this is not just something for socially awkward teenagers. I see this in all walks of life and all ages. For those of us integrating into a new country, we essentially have to relearn the rules of social engagement, and this includes rejection, which hurts a lot. And generally the culture of a country as a whole sort of beast in and of itself. I think a lot of people working in customer service or just in general dealing with people are hugely underappreciated. A lot of what customer representatives do is essentially therapy, to create an environment of intimate trust in a commercial setting is kind of counterintuitive. It's not easy, but it is what many of us are craving. Clients would often share very intimate details of their personal life with me. Things like their surgeries that had, the death of a loved one, the struggles they have with their business, relationship issues. And all of this, of course, has intensified exponentially in recent years. A lot of us are still traumatized by recent and also current events. And I think it is an essential part of human nature to want to share and confide things which are weighing on our minds. We all want a fully integrated life. And I know there are legitimate reasons to be fearful and to be neurotic at the moment. There's so much chaos and uncertainty in the world. And there is the temptation to freak out and sort of just want to burn everything down to the ground. But relationships and culture are messy and complicated. And even on an individual level, relationships, even in loving relationships, things get lost in translation all the time. And if you put this in the context of a country of 80 million plus people, integration can seem like an insurmountable task. And that is why the only option that we have left is to lead with curiosity. It's the only way to step outside ourselves and try to see the world from a different point of view. A curious mind will serve us much better than any course or any training that we are striving to achieve. And I'm not saying that any of this is easy, and I do understand that it's maybe easier for some people than it is for others. As many of you have told me, our world is colored by our past trauma, by who we are, what we look like, and how others perceive us. And to say that you don't care about what other people think is, quite frankly, either disingenuous or delusional. We all want to be loved and liked, and desired, and heard in some way. And we all want to feel like we belong to the group. It's human nature, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's in fact the very reason that we are here today. Now, it might seem like I'm trying to make this profound or original in some way, but this couldn't be further from the truth. I'm very well aware that this sentiment has been echoed throughout history by many different people, and I just wish that we could get on a little bit better, because I think at the end of the day, we all really want the same thing. So if you feel stuck or frustrated or misunderstood in some way, here are some of my favorite things which help to bring me back to a state of optimism and to rediscover my curious mind. Imperfect reflections after the rain has passed, the promise of spring, and an energizing conversation. If you don't have a friend, a stranger will do. I think we totally underestimate the power of language and self-expression. I truly believe there is a very deep emotional aspect to language that many of us just don't really realize. I have observed that people visibly relax when they express themselves, and when they feel heard and understood, their mental state changes, and this is noticeable on a physiological level. Their breathing slows and deepens, their shoulders kind of relax and fall back, and they smile. Just by uttering words, we can lower barriers and begin to find common ground. But it takes practice and it takes curiosity, and it is my belief that this is an unavoidable step on the path to integration. Without curiosity, life is hard. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. You must be the change you wish to see in the world.